All right. Hey, welcome back to the Go for CO channel. Now, today's guest isn't your typical tech founder flexing theories and buzzwords. Anthony Franco is a six-time startup exit operator who lived every chapter of the entrepreneurial roller coaster, from landing deals with public companies to closing down the business that should have worked. You may have, seen him on Shark Tank locking in Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful, but what happened after the camera stopped rolling is the lesson that no founder really ever learns or knows, right? And hears about. With 25 patents, a network of 25,000 entrepreneurs, and a no guru approach that's redefining what honesty looks like in the startup world, Anthony brings the kind of perspective you only earn by bleeding your own ideas, right? The sweat equity side of things. Anthony, welcome to the Go for CO channel. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me, John. It's always awkward to hear somebody read an intro and you're just like supposed to just sit there and like
It's me.
nod, like, yes, all these really cool things that he's saying about me are totally true.
We're excited to have you on. Part of the Go for CO family is learning about these CEOs, founders, entrepreneurs, people that are making impacts into that space, and then it could be used in life, right? I think so much what entrepreneurialism is, and I've had my own business, sold it in '09, and became a commercial banker. So I kind of did the opposite, but love hearing these stories. So we like to start with kind of the idea of where your systems came from. I know we're going to dive deep into an AI talk there as well. What was some of the things that kind of started you on the entrepreneurial spirit, journey?
Well, so there's like 10 answers to that one question. Uh, I became an entrepreneur, gosh, 20 years ago, longer than that now, 25 years ago. Um, And Jim Dieters, a fellow entrepreneur here in Colorado, said it best. The reason why I'm an entrepreneur is because I'm otherwise unemployable. It's the only way I can earn a living. So started and exited six. Had one that I started and didn't was not successful. Now I am I don't have a quote unquote startup that I'm working on. I'm a fractional CRO CEO, and one of my clients along as a fractional is a company called OneReach. They're an agentic. Think of them as a company that orchestrates AI for large enterprise. And I've been working with the CEO, working on some go-to-market stuff and some strategy stuff, and went really native at OneReach and understood how they delivered AI. Not how do you use ChatGPT or how do you write LLM code, but really how do practically enterprises and organizations implement AI in a safe and sane and profitable way. And I told them the way they delivered is really, really interesting because they have a platform and services. And I asked him if I could open source what their principles are, and he agreed. And that's how we started. That's how AI First Principles started. So it's just an open source framework on how to operationalize AI. It's called AI First Principles, aifirstprinciples.org. And so I've been working on that for over a year now. Um, those are my origin story is I'm unemployable, and my AI story is I got lucky with the client that is a leader in the AI space.
All right, so I think I know the direction we want to go here. So you're in the space, right, of entrepreneurialism. You failed and succeeded. Sounds pretty familiar. But when you get this client, what are you doing for them? And then where is that kind of idea pop that goes, oh, okay, hold on a second. I'm actually helping this client in X area of their business, and I see the type of potential this client has. What does that then look like to partner with them, it sounds like, and go kind of JV something into the future?
Yeah. So as a look as a consulting is weird. It's really weird because um, you know every client wants you to have experience in their industry, but nobody has experience in their company. So you are one of the amazing things about hiring a consultant, and this is not, I'm not self-promoting. There are consultants that are bad too. Is that you get to have a fresh and objective point of view in the company. So you're looking at a company and how it's running and what they're doing from a revenue perspective and an operations perspective with a fresh set of eyes and hopefully with a lot of experience in unrelated things that you can then correlate and connect to what they're doing. And that's has a lot of challenges to it, but also has a lot of it's what I love about it is it's new. There are constantly new problems. If you one of my weaknesses is if you're asking me to um, incrementally improve a system or a process or a product, I get bored really quickly. And being a consultant, it's constantly chaotic, um, stressful, but in a good way, because
Mhm.
you're having to constantly learn and grow and bring value all the time, which is really hard. But that's it. If it's hard, I get if it's not hard, I get bored.
Mhm.
So anyway, I'm kind of diverting from the question. I'm not sure if I answered your question directly or just kind of went on a tangent, but
No,
that's what
I
it's kind of like. It's like you're constantly swimming upstream.
Yeah, and look, I've had plenty of consultants in different areas. I think the fractional part over the last decade has become really popular, right? Because you can
Mm,
take the talent of someone with 10,000 hours of something and kind of put them into an area where, oh, okay, I can bring this person in. I don't have to employ them on a W-2 basis. They can maybe be month to month or contractually 3, 6, 12 months, whatever. And you don't have a total commitment, but you get to borrow that person's knowledge as the consultant. So
yeah.
I love what you're saying. I think it's yeah, but it's a challenging area and more people are getting into it as they see themselves either get canned or get laid off or be asked to leave. And fortunately, it gives them a new era, a new bounce back opportunity for themselves. Be it they were corporate or they were entrepreneurial, and they come,
Yeah.
that's right. So, but no, yeah. So again, I guess the question was more, hey, you're inside helping this company, and all of a sudden you discover an opportunity to work with them in this space that is blowing up. It's everywhere. I mean, there's every guru, as you like to not call yourself, um, doing new webinars right now on AI. They're either fear mongering to, hey, everybody's losing their job, it's going to be the worst thing ever, or they're giving some solutions to say, hey, if you're an A player, you're going to be a triple A player now. If you're a B player, you're going to upgrade yourself, stuff like that. So I guess that's where I wanted to start is how did you find that opportunity while you were already doing what you were doing?
Yeah. So uh, let's talk about the problem you first addressed, which is like everybody's in. So what does it mean to say you're in AI? um, does it mean you're working on LLMs, right? For OpenAI, are you engineering the next machine learning algorithm? Are you working for NVIDIA, working on inference chips, or are you in ChatGPT three times a day? And all of those currently are you can say you're in AI. And so when and I would tell people, I dabble in AI, and in reality, I'm a little bit deeper in it than most people that say they're in AI. But I'd never called myself an expert until I started to work with OneReach and recognize. So what I was brought in to do is help them position their company um, and bring awareness to what they're doing. And what I saw, what really surprised me. I'm like, these guys are easily 5 to 10 years ahead on enterprise AI,
Mm,
and the biggest problem that they were having was there's in their sales process, they were being asked to automate things for their customers, and invariably they would be asked to automate crappy processes. And
Mm,
so they had to teach their, first of all, they had to teach their client what AI is good for and not, and then how to approach AI so they're not just automating and accelerating the bad stuff that they're doing, but they're automating the right things. And they're so focused on helping their customers out. And what Rob, the CEO, told me was, what we need is a way to make sure that we don't have to educate our customers that they're thinking about it the wrong way. And I said, well, I can help do that, and not just involve OneReach, but involve Meta and Google and contributors to AI First Principles include people from Meta, Google, Amazon, Salesforce, Slack, and people that some of the original founders of the Agile Manifesto, um, and and really make an attempt. The opportunity that I saw was, it was a need my client had, but didn't want to tackle themselves. Right? It's not their core business. So I said, I'll do it. And ironically, AI First Principles is open source, so I'm not making any money on it. I just saw that it was gonna help the world, so I decided to jump into it. Um, so it wasn't it wasn't like I had to do this joint venture with them or convince them of anything. It was something that he asked me to do that I was like, yeah, I could do that, and that sounds really fun.
hmm. So interesting. Obviously, there's not always a time that, hey, you have to monetize thing. My podcast itself is kind of in that principle of helping small to medium-sized business owners that really don't have a Mark Cuban type name on the internet be and do a podcast, right? So I could
Yeah.
understand, relate to kind of what you're talking about. I guess from that perspective, looking at it with the wealth of knowledge that you've had and the businesses that you've shut down or exited, what are some of the things that now with this space that you are really enjoying and promoting out there? And then what are some of the things that you've learned from obviously the other companies that you've built?
Yeah, big questions. I'm going to try to narrow it down a little bit. So opportunities in AI the next step. So a lot of there's a lot of AI companies that are just essentially like, it's like a CRM with AI bolted on, right?
Mhm.
They're, and now with AI, it's like a sticker they put on their piece of software. And so there's a lot of point solutions that have AI integrated in them. So CRMs and HR and finance, there's a lot of point solutions like that. I think a lot of those, like, let's call them low hanging fruit AI implementations, are being solved by niche AI implementers. Those are okay, but what's really missing is making, where the really big opportunity is is developing an AI infrastructure, culture, mentality within organizations, both small and large. And I think it's kind of like how I can remember the days, I'm dating myself a little bit, where a company had the computer department, where just a little department, but where that department was the only department that had computers, right? And now everybody has a computer and everybody's using a computer, and that's how where AI is going to go as well. It's like, it's not a department, it's not somebody that, it's not in the org structure, outside of the fact that it's part of how the company needs to operate and will operate going forward. And the opportunity is how do you institutionalize bringing AI into your organization? Is it critical? Yeah, it's absolutely critical. It is such an amazing competitive advantage if you do it correctly. And you talk about, you asked me also about how do I bring the experience from other companies to this space? Um, there's nothing like this in my lifetime. I don't think there's anything like what AI is doing in anybody's lifetime. I think this is truly a first for human beings. Not the the technology innovations haven't happened, but it's just what AI brings is the unfathomable amount of speed at which things can be done. Um, it's AI operates faster than we can actually adapt to it, and it's actually one of the dangers of AI is if you implement it incorrectly, it can mess up your business really fast. And one of the nice things about bureaucracy is that it happens slow. So if there's a mistake made, it's not compounded 1,000 times in a day. Like you catch it relatively quickly. So there's some genuine benefits to it, but there's also some risks. I'll stop there and I'll let you navigate where you want to go next.
No, yeah, you're making me think of test piloting, right?
Mm.
I've been, like I said, I sold my business in '09, got into banking and kind of have run the gamut there. Had a little break from 17 to 19, went and started my own thing again, but came back. But, it's interesting. I feel like test piloting and group areas, right? For a small business, maybe that has 7 employees, that's going to be hard to do without having to, like you said, implement it and then hope it doesn't break something or speed up the bad processes they have. But for enterprise, which is the area that you're in, it seems like that would be the case, right? Is you can kind of take a segment of your business. I'm in commercial lending, right? So maybe the underwriting side and how can it analyze business tax returns, CPA reviewed financials. How can it quickly do that at the speed of light compared to an underwriter human being looking at it and scrolling through sheets and sheets of stuff? Could it be able to do that in nanoseconds compared to maybe a day, right?
Yeah, I think you just contradicted yourself a little bit there in a good way. And that
Okay.
is so enterprise, yes, enterprises can adopt it at scale.
Okay.
Um, and I think they're going to be they are much slower to adopt. I think the real advantage are people, are those 7 to 10 to 100 to 500 employee businesses,
Okay.
where if you have a founder or a leader that isn't afraid to get their hands dirty, isn't afraid to actually do, right? Not instruct somebody to do, but go do it themselves, that they have a builder's mentality, they have a very distinct advantage because what's really interesting about AI right now is AI will teach you how to use AI. So I'll give you a very tactical example on this. Um, there's a tool that I use every day, and there's competitors to it. It's called Cursor, and Cursor is generally thought of as a way to write code with AI. Um, if you want to go beyond ChatGPT, you download Cursor and you can start writing code with Cursor. But you could also write content. You can write strategies. You can have it tell you how to write code. You can vibe code using Cursor. That's what vibe coding is. It's like you tell AI to write something and it'll write code for you. And so somebody with the right amount of curiosity and willingness to fail can use Cursor or Lovable is one of them, but I don't love Lovable. There's others, Microsoft Copilot, that will let you iterate in a very safe way and in a very fast way, even if you're a really small team or a team of one. It's because it teaches you how to do it. So it's not risky, it's not expensive because you can make look. There's a lot of things in small businesses that they do A plus at, and there's a lot of things in small businesses they're C minus.
Mhm.
And what AI will give you is it'll get you to B plus, right? Those places that you're C minus or a D or totally failing at or totally unaware at, AI is going to get you to a place where you're at least on par or better than the competition in your space. So you need to start implementing it just because everybody's going to, and everybody's going to be at a B plus.
Mhm. I recently heard ex former Google guy say that, let's say your IQ is 140, which is pretty high, right? Um, AI can take you to like 1 to 10,040, like instantaneously, if put the right way, right? And obviously, I'm not a AI guru, but it was interesting to kind of hear, okay, and that's where my thought pattern was of an A player becomes a triple A player because
Yeah.
exponentially better. And then your D players, if hopefully if it could help them, or maybe they get shifted out and put into a different way of doing things. So
Well,
interesting.
but also you're an A player at certain things and a C player at others.
Sure. Yeah.
So you get to be a B plus player with AI if you're a C player in those other areas. Like if you suck at writing marketing copy, AI is pretty good at it. If you
Mm.
don't know how to fire an employee, AI will give you some good, they'll give you some good tactics and strategies on how to do it. You have to have good discernment,
Yeah.
and you have to fight back against it, so it's not giving you user bias. But yeah, it not only lets A players level up, but it lets anybody who has a weakness get better at it.
Yeah. Interesting. No, I guess I've just started to interview guys like yourself that are in this space, young guys, older guys, gals as well, that are kind of in this space, and it's interesting to kind of interview you, but it's so fresh and so new and so
Mm-hmm.
innovative, and how we use it is like so important, right? So why don't we go down the rabbit hole of no guru, right? I was very curious when it's stated in your kind of bio that you don't have that approach of being a guru. You have more of a kind of tactical way of looking at yourself. So from the points of being able to build businesses, sell businesses, fail at businesses, all that type of stuff, and the background of that you did with Mr. Wonderful there. Um, what are some of those things that you can share with the audience and the GoFCO community that really kind of impacted you as a founder and business owner?
Yeah, every time I tried to hire, so when I think of guru, I think of white knight, right? So you're a founder, you're an entrepreneur, you're really failing at something, or you really need help somewhere, and you think you're going to hire this white knight that's going to come in and fix everything. And the more guru-ish somebody sounds, and the more you think, oh, I don't have to worry about this myself anymore. I can just bring this person in. The more dangerous that hire is. The more dangerous that consultant is. The truth is, um, when when you bring somebody on in an organization, one of the fundamental things that you're bringing on is their knowledge of what not to do or what doesn't work or where they failed, so you can avoid the same mistakes that they've made. So I look at it much more humbly, like, when I'm talking to somebody, I'm and when I'm coaching somebody, it's not like, here's what to do, being very prescriptive, because it's different for every entrepreneur, for every business, for every industry. It's it's the framing by which you might want to tackle this problem, and and the and how do you burn down risk when you're implementing something new. So you're de-risking it by bringing in somebody. They're not going to. Nobody's going to be able to be very prescriptive. Say, if you do A, B, C, and D, you're done. That doesn't work, and that is what I think of as the guru mentality. It's like, I've got the system by which I'm out. Like, there is no. First of all, before there was no system that worked, and now, especially as more noise, especially when it comes to sales and marketing, you're competing with so much AI generated content and noise that the systems just don't work. If it's a system, it's now everybody's using it, and therefore it's no longer works. So I just have this allergy to somebody that says they're an expert at anything now, because there's no such thing anymore.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting time. I will say, just in my own personal view, what's really helped me become successful at what I do on my day to day is literally shaking a hand, knocking on a door,
Yes.
and saying hello and listening. This being a host of a podcast has given me an immense knowledge base of how to use two of these instead of one of these, right? So it's interesting. And I always thought I was good at listening, but I've gotten immensely better, having hosted 2, 3, 400 interviews now. And it's interesting now breaking bread or doing something like clay shooting. I just did, a couple weeks ago with some prospective clients, and
Oh, that's fun.
pottery and stuff. It's that is really kind of what's positioned me right in our marketplace of Chicago as one of the top bankers, because then it's about relationships of understanding and like in dissecting of, okay, your situation is different than, the same other manufacturer, but it's different reasons and different, scenarios of why that is hurting, or they're not doing the right thing. So, and they,
That is becoming so much more valuable now. Is is the is those human connections, those person to person connections. Um, that is the way. That is now the old way of growing is now also the new way of growing. There was a point at which you could do mass marketing, and you could game Facebook or Amazon ads or Google ads, and get mass market attention. But that's gone. You have to start developing that muscle of human to human connections. AI is changing that because um, everybody can do the mass market stuff, therefore nobody can do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and ultimately, and again, this is the way I think. I'm like, it's still a human being making that buying decision, right?
Yes,
The accelerator and maybe the
for
touches
now.
you can do. Yeah, for now. But it's interesting, right? Like that's kind of where the differentiator now becomes the old that used to be the old, right? Is now the new.
Yeah.
Um, Interesting stuff. So, I do want to touch on some of the areas that, you had obviously the AI scenario and what you're building out and everything. But you've been in, like it says, 25 different areas, 25,000, followers on online, and what they're following what you're doing. What are some of the other areas that you feel like could really impact our Go for Show community?
Um, well, so it depends. So if we're talking about founders in general, I think you've hit on a couple of them. Um, the most impactful thing you can do as an entrepreneur is go find other entrepreneurs. Go find other people. There is no, well, let me back up. Being a founder is lonely.
Hmm.
Um, and it's also scary because if you're doing it right, you're doing things that you've never done before. And so therefore you're failing a lot. Um, and trying to navigate it alone, um, it makes it so much harder than it needs to be. So my advice, my first when somebody says I'm thinking about being an entrepreneur, give me advice. I tell them not to do it. So I try to talk them out of it. And then if they look at me like I'm uh, insane, then I like, all right, this is a real entrepreneur. I need to get him in the right direction. I need to point him in the right direction. And that direction is go to a meetup. And we have plenty of meetups out there. There's Denver Founders out here in Colorado. There's Colorado Startups that have a lot of startup events. There's just go to meetups or in-person groups. Heck, go to your Chamber of Commerce and just sit in on that. Go talk and go associate with other entrepreneurs in real life, in person, and and have this notion of giving first. Try to help somebody that is earlier in the position than you are, or not in the industry you're in, and also ask for advice, ask for help, ask to uh, go join even in some circumstances. I know a lot of entrepreneurs have joined, those groups, those entrepreneur groups like Vistage or Pro or what's the other one that's out here, Provisors. Um, those are also very helpful, but you don't need to spend money. You can just go to meetups and do that. So to tie that up with a bow, go talk to other entrepreneurs, and then go listen to podcasts that care about entrepreneurs, not about the grind, the grind porn or the hustle porn that's out there, but actually that care about helping entrepreneurs with the tactics of being a founder.
And that's one of the major messages that we have at Go for CO. And I'll shamelessly plug the book, the 4A Formula. untangle any challenge and think like a CEO. That's the subheading. And you're looking
Yeah.
at here, right? Anthony Franco, Go for CEO community, breaking down ways of doing things, right? Assessing where you're at. If you're a small business, he corrected me, even better than an enterprise. If you're a small to medium-sized business, you could use AI to enhance and propel and strengthen your, operations and sales tactics and marketing and all that type of stuff. So I actually just heard Gary Vee a few hours ago. I happened to catch one of his Instagram lives, and he was saying, "Hey, I was up till 11 at night." And you're talking about a guy that's built a monster business, VaynerMedia, and some other things. He was saying, "I was up at 11 o'clock at night thinking, how the heck am I going to have AI, you know, not totally disrupt what he does at VaynerMedia, which is create content." Like, when AI is starting to do content that looks phenomenal, it's like superb and it's crystal clear and fast, right? All that type of stuff. So even a guy like that is thinking, okay, how do I start to reform?
Yeah.
And you need relationships and you need to align like chapter two with guys like Anthony. So Anthony, let's go into some of the things that I feel like, make a strong leader, right? When you've been able to have a team, or even right now you're working in a semblance of fractional with this company that you're working with on the AI side, what are some things that you do that you find that are leadership qualities that help you to either move people to a delegated situation where they produce well, or you're leading by example? What are some ways that you kind of interact in that sense?
Yeah. So one of my weak areas is delegation. So delegation is really hard for me.
Hmm.
Um, I used to be a software developer. So my background is code. And with code, it's really easy to just do yourself. You build. You're a builder, right? You're an engineer. And so delegation is typically really hard for entrepreneurs because you want to delegate and treat them like they're a piece of code. You're like, go do this thing. I'm going to prescribe it and give you a specification. And then you wonder why the hell that person didn't do it. I wrote it all down for you. Why didn't you do it that way? So we generally speaking, try to treat people like code. It doesn't work. So I've had to dramatically, like consciously adapt my brain to care about human beings and care about and have empathy for how other people operate. And a very generic piece of advice, and this is going to sound like a trope, and it is one for a reason. You have to know yourself. And so one what I see from really strong leaders is their ability to understand what they're good at and do that, and what they're bad at and bring people on board or people next to them that can balance them. I Abraham Lincoln brought in a team of rivals, right? He brought in people that their job was to argue with him. And I think that is absolutely the right mentality you need to go in if you want to build the business that grows. I don't want yes people. I don't want people telling me I'm doing the right things. I want people telling me how I need to be thinking about stuff differently. And that's very difficult. So one of the attributes of a leader is of a good leader in look, there's so many different flavors of leader that my recipe for leadership is going to be completely opposite from somebody else's. That's another thing. It's like, have there been real jerks, narcissistic, egomaniac jerks that have done really well from themselves? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's probably one of the qualities of somebody that's going to build $1 billion company is just this maniacal focus on their vision and their point of view. So nothing against that. It's just not how I operate, how I've chosen not to operate because I genuinely like people and I want people's approval. So I don't. I do want to operate in the team environment. But anyway, so humility and the ability to know what you're good at. Great book, by the way, is a book that really changed my leadership perspective. Is a real simple read. It's called Strengths Finder.
Mhm.
And it helped me, one, understand what I'm strong at, and two, be okay with the fact that I'm weak at stuff and bring people in that balance me out.
No, I love that last part too. I did string finders about 15, 20 years ago, and I remember kind of seeing the top five attributes of that and thinking to myself, okay, you know, like number five, I wondered why it wasn't number one or number
Mm,
three, could it have been number 10, like as an example? And I did some self-reflection back then, and it was a great tool. So it's like DISC, right? Doing
hmm.
on yourself and those types of things. It really gives you some insights. Of kind of where you're at and how your style is. But I will say I agree with you totally in the sense that that's why like chapter two for me in my book is about alignment. I like to be the guy that finds, hey, Anthony knows this and I can rely on him to do this and he's fantastic at it. And I don't want to do it or just don't have the competency to do it. And we could team up to be better together, right?
Yeah,
So,
exactly right. One
you know,
plus one equals three in that scenario, right?
love it. Love it. It's always
Yeah.
a multiplier when you have that scenario. So, all right. So, what are some of the things that you do in your consulting business? Because I think, people do wonder sometimes, well, hey, you shared with us a little bit about this AI and leadership principles and things like that, but how does this guy make money? Like, what does he do? Like, how does he charge? At least I get interested in that side of things. And what are some of the revenue tools that you have out there of how you conduct business?
Yeah, and so for all of every business that I've owned and operated, they've all been different revenue models. So I've done direct to consumer, enterprise sales, SaaS, self-service SaaS models before. Right now, I'm just I'm a gun for hire as a consultant. So very simply, it's a retainer every month for clients um, and 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 then I operate based on principles that we both agree on. I am. Um, I also happen to do some M&A advisory, so I do some business brokerage and earn extra money on that. And I am seriously considering um, and working through ways to develop coursework around operationalizing AI. So I have my eye on maybe a business that isn't, a dollar for a piece of my time. It's more of a dollar for the content that I create. I really look in general. I really think now more than ever, we need multiple streams of income,
Mhm.
and I'm focused on diversifying how I make money because I don't know which ones are going to be gone in 2 years. And so from a risk burn down perspective, I think it's risky to have one source of revenue, one job, one platform, one piece of content. I think it's just really dangerous. So I think revenue diversification, either as a company or as an individual, is critically important. So how am I making money as many different ways as I possibly can right now?
And you know what? I self-discovered once I published the book. For some reason, I've heard Grant Cardone and Gary Vee and all these people, you need assets, you need assets, you need assets. Like
Mm,
I always thought, okay, yeah, my home, my investment, my stock portfolio, my 401k, these are assets. And I never really, until I did it, which is part of action, taking action in life, I
hmm.
wrote this damn book. Now I have an asset. And yesterday morning, I wake up and, oh, four more sales, right? And that type of scenario. So, in that perspective, what are some things that you're thinking? Because are we in a dangerous time for course creators where a course could be obsolete within 2 weeks just because AI is so fast and creating some of things? Or is it still genuinely a space where, there'll be the next 18-year-old that needs to learn something, the next 16-year-old, the next 38-year-old that wants to change careers and will need that course? Are you of that perspective?
Yeah. So my favorite answer to any question is it depends. The it depends because it depends on the type of curriculum that you're developing. Um, and there are so if you're talking about what what should you use ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or Grok and how to use those tools. That developing a course on that, by the time you're done developing the course is going to change
Mhm.
because like just on the LLM perspective, which one should you use? That changes probably on a weekly basis as people release new models and new functionality. Again, at a pace that we've never seen before. And in that circumstance, it's not courseware. You're kind of what you're doing is you're committing to a daily or weekly or monthly piece of content, and it's a newsletter business or a ad revenue kind of business. Really hard, honestly, in my opinion, really hard to make money that way. Then there's courseware or work that you can do that is really about principles and a foundation, like more evergreen content, more evergreen ways of thinking about stuff, things that are not going to change over the next 10 years. And if you're developing courseware, I do think that that's a really interesting way to go. I mean, here in Colorado, a great example of that. Um, it's actually embedded in the law. Like in order to be an M&A advisor, I had to get my real estate license.
Hmm.
And you have to do 160 hours of training. Like that's really great evergreen content because it's enforced by the state, and it's not, the laws are not going to change. It's like it's courseware on what the laws are in the state on how to operate as a commercial real estate agent. So yeah, again, it's the answer is it depends. It depends on the kind of work that you're doing and the kind of content you're creating and the audience that you're going after. All of those things factor into is there a business model behind it? Is there enough people, and can you truly differentiate whether or not you're going to make money at it?
I love it. I love it. Yeah, no, a lot of areas to think about and assess kind of where you're at. And that's always my first principle is in anything that I do, even during my day. I give the example always like, hey, I'm in a deal. We're going through an environmental, buying a commercial piece of property, and all of a sudden the environmental goes phase two, and that
Mm-hmm.
not waiting, was not excited about that. And it's going to take 15, 20 more days to close instead of next week, that type of thing. And, how do you adjust and pivot from there? So, as we end the interview, Anthony, we talk about CEO. So client experience, engagement, and operational excellence. And I know you have a breadth of knowledge on all of those. So from a client experience, either from what you've done now or seemingly the other companies as well, what are people experiencing when they come to an Anthony Franco business?
What I strive for, and I think I fail at this a lot too, but what I strive for is an unfiltered opinion. So this is where what they can expect is not hearing what they want to hear, but what they need to hear.
Mm.
And that doesn't come from that. That sounds egotistical, right? But it's more about anybody that is serving clients, anybody that has customers needs to deeply care about what's best for their customers, not what's best for them, even if that means not buying you. And this comes from my experience at one of my companies called Effective, where we were a user experience consultancy for Fortune 100s, where we helped companies design UIs for their systems. So they're not their website, but once you log into their systems, what's that experience look like? And when we started that company, it was the computer department, the IT department that made that decision of what the user experience should be. And what the innovation that agency brought to the market was, wait, before we build the UI, before we build the database schema, before we write a line of code, let's understand what the end user needs. Let's care about the customer first. Let's understand what's motivating them. Let's understand what's driving them. And that empathy, that living in the factory with the worker or sitting at the desk with the knowledge worker, um, creates a much better product. And so, to take myself out of it, um, what people need to expect out of anybody that they hire is that they're going to care about your customers first. They're going to care about your company before their process first. Um, so yeah, it's compassion for your business objectives and your customers. That's what that's what you should expect.
Well, I relate. I mean, you've got to slow down to speed up, right? As
Yes, exactly right.
is pretty cool to think that way, and not many do, but the ones that do, you'll see thrive in a marketplace of red ocean, they become the blue ocean, right? Strategy in that scenario. So awesome. Engagement. I'm always very curious, and our community loves to hear from a leadership perspective and who you are as a business owner and what you're doing. How do you engage with vendors, with clients, with employees and contractors? What do you do? Are you a retreat guide? You do dinners a lot? Are you doing, holiday season now? Will there be parties going on in your business? What are the ways that you like to engage with the people around you?
Oh, that's a really interesting question. I so again, it depends on the business that we're talking about. Currently, I am engaging. Most of the people that I'm engaging with right now are remote, so doing things in person are very difficult. So what I'm doing is I'm very focused on community building, building communities around AI and around entrepreneurship, and doing that in a way that there's something in it for the community, not something in it for me. Um, and trying to um, the example is AI first principles. We're building followers, signers, contributors to that open source community. And then eventually that community will be able to provide a lot of value, not just for them as the contributors to AI first principles, but also by connecting one another. So I really believe in this power of engaging community to help one another, in the small sense of going to talk to entrepreneurs locally, but in the larger sense, how can you get a community to help one another? I think that I'm really focused on developing that muscle of creating a movement or a community around um, certain things. I did it before in user experience, and now I'm trying to do it in AI.
Okay. So it may not be, hey, go to the Colorado Rockies or Avalanche game. It'll be more, hey, this community, you're investing time, you go out of your way to really kind of
Yeah,
pour into people and into that community. So that's an engaging realm and satisfaction and reward out of it. So
yeah.
interesting. How about operational excellence? Obviously, from a guy that's now kind of heavily into this AI space, recreating ways, workflows, all these types of things. What are two or three, different tools? You mentioned one earlier that you use on the AI side. Is there anything else that you are really gravitating to that's really helped in business from Monday.com type of thing, or what other things are you using?
Yeah, if we're talking about systems, the system that so I'm most of my clients are smaller than 500 people. And the system that works amazingly well for companies of that size is the entrepreneur operating system, EOS. Book called Traction. And I think, look, I'm not an EOS implementer. There are a ton of consultants that are EOS implementers. They're great. If you want one, I know 10 of them here in Colorado. It is a really good way of organizing and structuring that daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly check-in with your leadership team to make sure you're aligned around what they call rocks, or the goals and the things that your company needs to do. The tool that I find the absolute most useful tool out of EOS is a scorecard. And what we do with scorecards is what the way I use scorecards is the team gets together on a weekly basis for a half an hour and talks about the 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 measurable goals for that company or for that initiative. And it's literally a spreadsheet that you mark in this last week we're here, this week we're here. And that weekly half hour check in is the single most valuable thing that I have done as an entrepreneur. It sets an expectation that we need to move these numbers in a positive direction and that we're going to hold each other accountable to it every week. I think that is, if you're not doing that at some level on a spreadsheet, on a whiteboard, in an EOS tool or some other tool, you are things are happening in your company and you're not aware of what's happening and why and and whether or not it's having a good impact or a bad impact.
No, it's made me giggle because I've changed recently banks, and interesting going from a pretty big bank to a top 10 bank to a smaller bank, about 10 times less smaller, from 250 billion to 25 billion. Very entrepreneurial over here, very corporate over here.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to come back to this style just because of everything I'm doing to brand myself and be a different banker in the marketplace. But it's so real what you just said. Over here, they had like every checkpoint and thing, they monitored you to the guild. And over here, it's like, okay, we're trying to get to here, but we like, do you have an idea? Do you have an idea? So
Right.
that thing, it's interesting, and you're still a $25 billion bank, like, so it's not like you're small. It's just that it's interesting. It's very entrepreneurial. So awesome. Well, Anthony, we really appreciate you coming on. It's one of those things that we've enjoyed throughout our lifespan of growing the Go for CEO channel. I know that you have your own podcast and how-to founders and some of the great things that you've done. I think you wrote a book as well. Do you want to share how people can get a hold of you if there's a business owner that's out there and like, man, I'd love to work with Anthony? How do they interact with you and get to that point?
Yeah, the location you can find me at, just go to howtofounder.com. There's three hosts there. I'm one of them. And you can connect with me on LinkedIn. Like there's a link right to my LinkedIn page. Just connect with me on LinkedIn through How to Founder. And I'll also tell you how to, follow the podcast there as well. So best place, howtofounder.com. And then also please visit aifirstprinciples.org and just check it out and tell me what you think.
Awesome. Well, hey, Go for SEO channel. My Kindle version, the ebook is out today, actually. So that's exciting stuff. I didn't realize that I had a paperback that came out. And then my publisher was like, hey, you didn't really pay for the ebook, so let's pay for that as well. And we're working on an audio version as well. So exciting stuff. It's really cool to hear and talk to a guy like Anthony to realize like, hey, now you have assets, you're building things. So pursue things in your life, assess, align, take accountability, and take massive action at the end, or else all the things that you've learned, even on this video, is going to be for naught. Don't be an addict to learning, be an addict to execution and action. So thanks so much for coming on the Go for CEO channel, Anthony.
Thank you. Thank you, John.